Okay, hello and welcome to today's installment. I am going through this terrific book called Vipassana Meditation, as taught by S.N. Goenka. The author is William Hart, and we are now on chapter 3, the title of which is The Immediate Cause of Suffering. Okay, and as per what everybody knows about Buddhism, it's focused on how to avoid suffering. So the chapter opens describing reality in a pretty negative fashion. Here's a quote: "The real world bears no resemblance to the world of fairy tales, in which everyone lives happily ever after. We cannot avoid the truth that life is imperfect, incomplete, and unsatisfactory." Okay. So, there you go. According to Buddha, life is suffering, it's unavoidable, and he is going to help us to find a way to deal with it. Alright, so Goenka then gives his definition of the term karma. The popular interpretation of the Sanskrit word for karma is fate, but this implies that our suffering is beyond our control, and that is not what Buddhism teaches. The literal interpretation of the Sanskrit word for karma is action. So what this means is that our actions are connected to our fate. Our actions are the root of everything that we experience in life. He then presents a quote, which presumably is from Buddha. "All beings own their deeds, inherit their deeds, originate from their deeds, are tied to their deeds. Their deeds are their refuge. As their deeds are base or noble, so will be their lives." Here's another quote: "You are your own master. You make your own fate." Okay, so clearly, Goenka is telling us that our fate, or what we experience in life, is based on the type of actions that we participate in. He says that there are 3 types of action: physical, vocal, and mental. That negative physical and vocal actions will result in suffering is pretty obvious. What is not obvious is that thoughts are to be considered actions. Okay, so ideas appear in our mind. Do we stop and analyze how they arise? Most of us do not. Goenka does not say how thoughts arise, but he does indicate that they are actions, and actions bring consequences or results. Thoughts in and of themselves bring consequences. Thoughts cause us to speak and exert ourselves physically, so they are the qualitative root of the entire reality we're participating in. Goenka states that bad thinking will also result in suffering. According to Goenka, we are not responsible for every notion that pops into our head, but we are responsible for our response. If we choose to identify with a particular thought tendency, we perpetuate the flow. At some point, we are consciously, intentionally thinking in a certain way. Intentions are a choice, the act of the will, from which we cannot escape responsibility for the consequences. So Buddhism is a mental discipline, and in the previous chapter we are told that the mind consists of consciousness, perception, sensation, and reaction. Reaction is where we are making a choice, and if we make the right choice, we can avoid suffering. On page 39, it says that we need to learn how to observe suffering objectively. This rather than identifying with it. We can say, "Oh look, my body is suffering," while disassociating from the body, as if the body was suffering just an interesting phenomenon, and that those phenomena are occurring in and of themselves. Our self is not caught down in the experience exactly. Our self is elevated, looking down upon the suffering from an enlightened, detached perspective, like we are watching a dramatic depiction of suffering on television. Now I'm going to read to you the series of questions and answers that are presented at the end of chapter 3. Question number 1. Isn't suffering a natural part of life? Why should we try to escape it? And this is Goenka's response. We have become so involved in suffering that to be free from it seems unnatural. But when you experience the real happiness of mental purity, you will know that this is the natural state of mind. Question number 2. Can't the experience of suffering ennoble people and help them to grow in character? Answer. Yes, in fact, this technique deliberately uses suffering as a tool to make one a noble person, but it will only work if you learn how to observe suffering objectively. If you are attached to your suffering, the experience will not ennoble you. You will always remain miserable. Question. Isn't taking control of our actions a kind of suppression? No. You learn just to observe objectively whatever is happening. If someone is angry and tries to hide his anger and swallow it, then yes, it's suppression. But by observing the anger, you will find that it automatically passes away, and you become free from the anger if you learn how to observe it objectively. If we keep observing ourselves, how can we live life in a natural way? We'll be so busy watching ourselves that we can't act freely or spontaneously. That is not what people find after completing a meditation course. Here you learn a mental training that will give you the ability to observe yourself in daily life whenever you need to do so. Not that you will keep practicing with eyes closed all day throughout your life, but just as the strength you gain by physical exercise helps you in daily life, so this mental exercise will also strengthen you. What you call free, spontaneous action is really blind reaction, which is always harmful. By learning to observe yourself, you will find that whenever a difficult situation arises, you can keep the balance of your mind. With that balance, you can choose freely how to act. You will take real action, which is always positive, always beneficial for you and for others. Aren't there any chance happenings, random occurrences without a cause? Nothing happens without a cause. It is not possible. Sometimes our limited senses and intellects cannot clearly find it, but that does not mean that there is no cause. Are you saying that everything in life is predetermined? Well, certainly our past actions will give fruit, good or bad. They will determine the type of life we have, the general situation in which we find ourselves. But that does not mean that whatever happens to us is predestined, ordained by our past actions, and that nothing else can happen. This is not the case. Our past actions influence the flow of our lives, directing them towards pleasant or unpleasant experiences. But present actions are equally important. Nature has given us the ability to become masters of our present actions. With that mastery, we can change our future. But surely the actions of others also affect us. Of course, we are influenced by people around us and by our environment, and we keep influencing them as well. If the majority of people, for example, are in favor of violence, then war and destruction will occur and cause many to suffer. But if people start to purify their minds, then violence cannot happen. The root of the problem lies in the mind of each individual human being, because society is composed of individuals. If each person starts changing, then society will change, and war and destruction will become rare events. How can we help each other if each person must face the results of their own actions? Our own mental actions have influence on others. If we generate nothing but negativity in the mind, that negativity is a harmful effect on those who come in contact with us. If we fill the mind with positivity, the goodwill towards others, then it will have a helpful effect on those around us. You cannot control the actions, the karma of others, but you can become master of yourself in order to have a positive influence on those around you. Why is being wealthy good karma? If it is, does that mean to say that most people in the West have good karma and people in the third world have bad karma? Wealth alone is not good karma. If you become wealthy but remain miserable, what is the use of the wealth? Having wealth and also happiness, real happiness, that is good karma. It is most important to be happy whether you are wealthy or not. Surely it is unnatural to never react. It seems as if you have experienced only the wrong habit pattern of an impure mind. But it is natural for a pure mind to remain detached, full of compassion, love, goodwill, joy, equanimity. Learn to experience that. How can we be involved in life unless we react? Instead of reacting, you learn to act with a balanced mind. Vipassana meditators do not become inactive like vegetables. They learn how to act positively. If you can change your life pattern from reaction to positive action, then you have attained something very valuable. And you can make this change by practicing Vipassana. So we will tackle chapter 4 next in the next video. So I appreciate you watching, and I hope you will like and subscribe and comment. Let me know if you're appreciating the work I'm putting into this, and I hope you have a great day.